Babe, wake up. The new Team Visma Lease bike 2025 Tour de France squad has just dropped. And I'm hyped to see who they're going to bring to try and stop Tadej Pogacar destroying them again in the quest for the yellow jersey. So I'm going to give you my thoughts, reactions. Let's break this one down and have a look. So they've announced this one on their website and also on Instagram. So we're going to do the dramatic reveal and have a look at them one by one as they come in. So first and foremost, well, you'd hope so, wouldn't you? Jonas is in the squad, the GC leader, despite some of the rumours to the contrary recently that Jorgensen would be the GC leader. I don't think so. But no surprise to see him there. Who's he brought with him? Well, obviously Jorgensen, arguably number one domestique after last year, I think. He did super well at Paris-Nice, and then obviously the Tour, he was Jonas's number one guy. Kuss wasn't there. Nobody else was any good. That being said, is he in as good as form as he was last year? Let's wait and see. Didn't look 100% at the Dauphiné. You wouldn't expect him to be. Certainly didn't sort of look on the level he was at Paris-Nice last year, but you know, would he be here and now? Probably not. Either way, without question, going to be one of the most important guys for Jonas. Obviously, he's a bit of a bigger guy. He might not be there towards the end of all of the mountain stages, but kind of like, wow, he can sort of do a bit on the flat as well. I think he's, 70 kilos, something like that. He's quite a big guy. Not really expecting many surprises with this announcement, to be honest with you. I think we could probably pick most of these riders, especially based on who we saw at the Dauphiné. And next up, we've got Tish Benoot. Yeah, to be expected. Pretty safe pick. You know, he's the guy you sort of want. Pretty good versatility guy. Can get in breakaways up the road. Can control things. Can sort of be there towards the end on the climbs. Yeah, nothing unexpected there. Pretty standard pick. You know, are his best days behind him? Yeah, probably. But for sure, he's still capable of doing a good job for the team. So yeah, you'd expect to have him there. Are there going to be any surprises? That's the question. I'm trying to think who they might bring that we're not expecting. But Laporte's out. They already said that ahead of time. The question is who they're going to bring in instead of Laporte. And fourth on the list, we've got Wout. Yeah, absolutely expected. I'd have been more surprised. I think we'd have all been shocked if Wout wasn't there. Obviously, he can do everything. He's good on the flats. He's good on the climbs. He can go for the bunch sprints, the green jersey, so all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, nothing unexpected there. Good to see him looking pretty much, you know, maybe not quite back to his absolute best form at the Giro, but definitely was good to see him sort of pick up some results and sort of improve in form as the Giro went on. You know, that being said, try and enjoy it. He is, 31, 32. He's a sprinter, fast twitch guy. You know, he's not going to be around forever, is he? He's probably going to be the last year or two. You know, he's at his absolute top peak. So enjoy it. Enjoy it whilst he's here. Same for Van der Poel. He's the same age, isn't he? 31. You've seen what happens. You've seen what happens to people like Alaphilippe, Sagan. We've seen it all before. You know, those guys, they don't go too much after 30 at their absolute peak, do they? It's just a, you know, the fast twitch, the speed, it starts to go at a certain point. It's kind of like Premier League wingers, isn't it, right? Like you don't see them when they're 35, 40. So enjoy the Wout show whilst it's still in full effect. You'll miss him when he's gone, unless your name is Mathieu van der Poel. Next up, we've got, there he is, Sepp Kuss, the water boy. I don't know, man. Like, obviously he's a certain pick. You have to pick him because he's got that pedigree. He's such a great domestique. He won the Vuelta, you know. Maybe he was, got gifted that one. But I don't know, man. Since he won the Vuelta, he's looked pretty mid. He definitely, doing 3 Grand Tours in 1 year, seemed to take it out of him. Because in 2024, he was pretty non-existent. And then, to be honest, yeah, I haven't seen much from him this year that looked super impressive either. So hopefully he can sort of get back to full form, be hitting on all cylinders and back to the Kuss, GC Kuss sort of level from 2023, 2022. Because if so, he's going to be super important for Vin, right? When he's on form, he's one of the few guys in the world that could potentially be there to help drop Pog. You know, there's not many guys that can do that, and he is definitely one of them when he's on peak. So the question is just who's going to turn up? Is he going to be the Kuss from a couple of years ago? Is it going to be Kuss from the last year or so? Hopefully he can... But I don't know, man. I'm not even sure he's going to be Vin's number one guy towards the end in some of these stages, which, you know, a year or two ago you would have said guaranteed to be the last guy for Vin. All right, next up it is Simon Yates. You know, yeah, again, we already knew he was coming. We knew that after the Giro. No surprises there. Again, would have been more a surprise if he wasn't on the squad. Going to be super important, especially if he climbs anything like he did in the Giro. You know, that Finestra performance is absolutely insane. It's a huge performance. One of the best performances in the last few years, right? From anybody. So if he's anywhere near that level of form, he's going to be really, really important for Vin to try and sort of be there at the end. And again, one of the couple of guys in the world really that's able to be there at the end and maybe have a chance of sort of being in a train that's putting the pressure on Pog. He's certainly kicked it up a notch, hasn't he, in the last year or two since he went over to Visma. Certainly haven't seen him perform in that sort of level for a long time, and that's interesting to see. It's probably, you know, just a case of going to a bigger team, right? Like, he's not been a huge team with loads of resources and a load of top tier guys and trainers and managers and stuff like that. So maybe it's just that, right? Maybe just Visma are better organised, better run, and it's sort of allowed him to get back to peak form. But he's certainly kicked it up a notch or two this year. And as well, he's got the option, you know, kind of like Jorgensen, maybe Kuss, if Kuss gets in a really early break at the start. But, you know, he's got the option of being a second threat, right, on GC to sort of maybe do the 1-2 attacks with Roglic on Pog on Granon on 2022. You know, he's one of the guys, UAE should definitely not just let him get up the road, right, in a break, 10 minutes up the road. He's shown that on the Giro. So UAE have to think about him. They're going to have to consider him and not just let him walk away. So, yeah, he's definitely a good option to be on there. And maybe, you know, like, he's one of the few guys, like, maybe he's the best option other than Jorgensen and Kuss, right? Because, I don't know, I get the impression that as soon as Pog gets the opportunity on stage 12 to put big time into people, he's going to try and get rid of as many of the Visma domestiques as he possibly can. So they can't play the 1-2 tactic on him later on, right? So they haven't got anybody in GC. They don't have 4 guys in the top 10 who Pog's got to be worried about. So I expect him to just do that, right? To just go as hard as he can on stage 12, try and get rid of as many of them as he can. And if Jorgensen and Sepp Kuss aren't on their absolute top form, they could lose quite a bit of time in the first couple of mountain stages. So Yates is going to have to be on top form. He's going to be super important to be there. And it's going to be super important for Vin and Visma to keep him as close to Pog for the first couple of weeks and into that third week as they possibly can. You know, try and have him do no work. I'd treat him as the second GC guy, especially after he's proved it at the Giro that he can win. I'd certainly put him on a tier above Jorgensen and Kuss at this point in terms of the hierarchy. I'd have them pulling in the train before him. But again, you know, the question is, how much is he carrying over from the Giro? It's hard. Not everybody can do a Giro Tour double like Pog can and be in form for both. It's really hard to do. So what I'm trying to say is it's hard to be in form for both, right? It's hard to be at peak form for both. So we'll have to see what level Yates is at. He skipped the Dauphiné, makes sense. He didn't need to be at the Dauphiné, needed to be recovering, try and sort of get himself rested up and ready for this one. Definitely the most exciting wild card, if you ask me, from this team in terms of, you know, could blow the race open, could cause an unexpected dynamic, could sort of throw a spanner in the works for Pog, could be a secret weapon. Certainly the one that's got the most potential to do that. So yeah, let's see what form he's in, and hopefully, you know, he's in good form. It'll be a good spectacle for us to watch, and he can keep it close to Pog and Vin for the first couple of weeks and be, you know, another option for Visma. Okay, so we've got to be really out climbers now. Surely that's pretty much all climbers, surely, right? Like even Wout can climb. So who have we got left? It's got to be the flat guys, right? I think we know we've got to see Campenaerts coming up shortly. Campenaerts, I'm sure, is going to be there. He was signed pretty much for the Tour, right? So he's surely Campenaerts on the list. And he was at the Dauphiné. But who we got? Affini's, right? So Affini's probably the replacement for Laporte, right? You know, I think that's probably pretty standard. That's probably what we expected. You know, when we saw Laporte wasn't going to go, Laporte probably would be first choice. He's a good replacement for Laporte. I think it's really him, or maybe you would take Tullet, you know, as another sort of climbing option as well. But I think, you know, at this point he's pretty much as good an option as they could get, I think. So yeah, hopefully he can do well. They you know, who else were they going to take? Coy, you know, Brennan. There's no point taking a sprinter. Like, they've got to go all in for Ving. They've got to. If they want to beat Pog, they have to go all in, all hands to the pump, all men on deck, and just go for it. You've got Wout, you know, Wout can go for the reduced bunch sprints, for the green jersey and for stuff like that if you absolutely have to try and get some, you know, publicity for the team and some results. But there's no point taking another pure sprinter. It's just no, don't do it. Save them. But you can kind of see why, you know, Coy's looking to leave and sprinters haven't had a great time at Visma in the last couple of years. Is because they have to go all in on the Tour squad for Vin and for Vingegaard, and it's, you know, it just means there's not really many spots for any sprinters at the minute for them. Okay, so last, surely this is Campenaerts. Yeah, there we go. Here he is. I mean, yeah, he hasn't even got his moustache in that photo, has he? Maybe, I can't tell. It might just be a shadow. Look, I want to see the moustache. That's the most important thing here. He's got to be there. He's got to have the moustache. That's all I care about. You know, I think he won a stage last year at the Tour, right? So he's a solid rider. I think he was, like I said, signed pretty much exclusively for this, to kind of come in and do a job. I think he's to replace Tratnik, right? So Tratnik obviously went to Bora for Roglic, and he's sort of going to do that job. He's also got the same size bike as Vin, right? So great replacement if Vin gets a mechanical, crashes, etc. Needs to swap bikes. Campenaerts can be there. Give Vin his bike. So it makes sense, really good sense. He's been, really consistent rider. I think he looked in pretty good form at the Dauphiné as well. So, I think he's a really good shout. Like I say, in other options, in terms of other people, who would you take? You're not going to take the sprinter. Tullet, maybe. Anybody else? I don't know. I don't think they're good enough. Bart Lemon, he came in last year, right? He did a job last year, but that was pretty much as an emergency guy. He wouldn't have been the first choice pick. And, with all due respect to Bart Lemon, I don't think he's on the level of climbers of these guys, some of these other guys in this squad. You'd take Kuss, even if Kuss isn't at 100%, right? You'd take Kuss over Lemon every day of the week. So yeah, as we went over the 8 names will be Jonas Vingegaard, Wout van Aert, Matteo Jorgensen, Simon Yates, Sepp Kuss, Tiesj Benoot, Victor Campenaerts, and Eduardo Affini. That's right, they'll be in their special jersey. I don't know, man. I don't like the jersey so much this year. I think I preferred the blue one last year, to be honest, the Renaissance one. I mean, it did look like my nan's wallpaper, but I still kind of liked it. This one, I don't know, let's look at it again. I don't know, man. They're going for the wasp look, right? The killer bee, the wasp look. I don't know. I don't like it. And also, it's just the fact that they have to use a special jersey every year because their normal kit is too yellow to be associated with the Tour. Just pick a different colour. Just pick a different kit. I get you like the yellow, but just pick a different colour. So he's got the red and white helmet now. Wout's got the Red Bull helmet. Everyone else in the team just losers with the normal yellow and black helmet. And then the next question is, is it going to be enough? Are they going to have a better squad than UAE have? I don't know, man. I think if we look at the potential squad for UAE, I think they're pretty even. I really do. I think UAE's got a good squad as well. But I think if you look at the probable UAE squad man for man against what the Visma squad is, I think they're probably pretty even, right? And so the question then is, who's going to be the better guy at the top? Well, probably Pog, but we don't know that for sure. Let's wait and see. But the one area that consistently we've seen that Visma will have the drop on UAE, and this team will have the drop on UAE, is their organisation. It's their teamwork. We've seen it consistently. We saw it last year. We saw it at the Giro. They're so good at looking after their guy, staying out of trouble, making sure Vin is where he needs to be, Yates is where he needs to be, he's not involved in crashes, it's at the front where he needs to be. If there's any, they got lucky a couple of times at the Giro, right? They got lucky quite a few times at the Giro that their guys didn't get sort of caught up in any crashes. And they got lucky every single crash at the Giro that their guys didn't get caught up, right? Maybe it's not luck. Maybe it's the fact that they're consistently taking the energy and the effort to put themselves at the front of the peloton out of harm's way, to look after their guy, right? And even then, crosswind stages on the splits, when there's breakaways up the road, they're so much more competent than UAE. Like UAE's tactics, when Pog aren't there, are non-existent. And when he is there, they're pretty much also non-existent. It's just Pog happens to be there and be insanely strong and just does whatever he wants anyway. So that's the area where, if you're Visma, you have to be better than UAE still. That's pretty much your best bet, is you can be better than them there. You can. And you can maybe take advantage if there's a crash and Pog gets caught behind. If there's a split, a crosswind, maybe get somebody in a breakaway to make life more difficult. But you can use your better, teamwork, racecraft, racemanship to sort of put pressure on UAE, where they're just disorganised. They're often Pog's on his own, and yeah, he looks after himself well and follows wheels, but more often than not, last year I can't remember, there was a stage when, wasn't there a crosswind or a break? He was on his own in the front group, on his own. And pretty much all of Visma were there, right? It's just consistently that thing seems to happen. Pog's team just seems to just not be amazing at looking after him over the course of a 3-week Grand Tour. But that's the area where they consistently have the drop. They're consistently better than UAE. And that, probably applies tactically as well, right? When it comes to tactics on the stages, they're usually pretty on the ball when it comes to what to do at the end of a stage, how to position people in the GC for the best possible finish, applying pressure. The tactics we saw at Granon, right? They're really good at exploiting weaknesses in the riders around them and trying to sort of make the most of it. So they're going to have to do all of that. They're going to have to be positioned well. They're going to have to try and look after the guys. They're going to have the best tactics. They're going to have to be best in every area to beat Pog if they want to beat him. They just have to. Yeah, this is what I expected. I think it's probably what everybody expected. It's probably going to be the same for the UAE team announcement, right? We probably just pretty much named the UAE team, but that's what they should do. They brought the best guys. They need the best guys. They need them to be in their top form. And it looks like both teams have pretty much brought the best guys they can bring. Like, you know, in terms of a start list, you couldn't really pick a better one. But let's see. I might do a video on the UAE team when it drops in case there's any surprises, just to see how we think that one's going to play out as well. Otherwise, let me know down below. Would you take anybody else? Do you think there's any surprises in here you weren't expecting? Do you want to see more Tour and Zwift content? Like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one.